Hi, my name is Rick Clement. I served 16 years in the Queen's Lancashire Regiment that then became the Duke of Lancaster Regiment. Unfortunately, I was injured in 2010 in Afghanistan, and now I work for Fleetwood Town Community Trust, helping veterans in the local area. When I stepped on an IED in 2010, unfortunately, I received multiple injuries. The main ones being that I lost both my legs. On my left hand side, it was all the way up to the hip, which is called a hip disarticulation. And on the right hand side, again, it's above knee, but I do have a small amount of leg left. I also received some blast damage to my right elbow that has caused me some movement issues, but it's still there, luckily. I think number one would be the swimming thing. It's certainly something, as I said, I've always been a water baby. I love swimming, but a future challenge I'd like to do is swim the channel. And certainly, as I am now, I would be far too slow. It would take far too long. Whereas with an adaptation, with some sort of prosthetic, it's certainly a possibility and something I'm going to aim for. So ideas and help with that would always be welcome. I think walking would be another one. I can walk. I need two sticks to walk, but I can only do sort of 40 or 50 meters over 20 minutes or so. It's extremely demanding and tiring, and therefore it's not practical. So if anyone had any further ideas how to make walking easier, take less energy, if you will, maybe more robotic parts involved, so that does the work for me a little bit more and takes the pressure away from and the energy need away from myself. One of the biggest problems that I have in life, believe it or not, is trying to change the covers of my bed. Um, I've managed to do all sorts of tasks since being injured, but that still remains the one thing I hate doing each week. Because if you can imagine sitting on top of the bed and trying to sort of waft the big quilt cover into the lining is hard work, and I usually end up with a massive sweat. So I've encountered so many different sort of problems, small and large, and had to adapt to that. And there are pieces of kit and equipment that have really helped over that time. I've been helped by STEM so far in the fact that I've been able to trial various prosthetics and different pieces. As you can probably imagine, the composition of a prosthetic leg isn't just one big leg kind of stuck together. It comes in different components, which might be a powered knee, a powered ankle, and all sorts of other bits. As far as I'm aware, I'm even one of the only people in the world to trial wearing prosthetic legs whilst also wearing a powered suit that would be put onto somebody who still had the legs but struggled with the use of them. And if any of you have ever seen Wallace and Gromit: The Wrong Trousers, it was very much felt like that, where I was in little control. But it's been amazing to trial all these different bits of technology. As I said, some of these powered knees that use computer chips to understand where I'm putting weight through my body onto the floor and how I'm moving to help me walk. And these are obviously massive advancements in technology, even in the 10 years since I've been injured. And it's been really helpful to be able to trial those and find out which makes my life easier. And I'm sure as technology progresses, more and more will come on the market. Thank you for listening to my story today. I hope that's give you a little bit of an insight into what life as an amputee is like and some of the things that I've used. I'm really interested in seeing what guys like you, or guys and girls like yourselves, what interesting ideas you can come up with that might help solve future problems for myself. I wish you all the best of luck in everything that you're doing, and again, look forward to seeing the master plans that you come up with.
I hope you've enjoyed some of the journey that we've had so far, some of the people that we've met, and some of the processes that you'll have seen and even built your own skeleton. But what you should have really realised is that what you've actually seen is very early, it's very primitive, and it's the first steps of an incredibly exciting technology. The future of engineering humans, the future of assistive technology, the future of exoskeleton technology is really in your hands.
My name is Kalavati Bashyam. It's a bit of a mouthful, so I generally go by Kala. I work as the Director of Product Management and Quality and Regulatory Affairs at my company. And that's also a bit of a mouthful. But what I do is mainly work on making sure that the product we make, which is an exoskeleton, is safe and effective and is intuitive to be used by whoever is going to be using it. I think everyone probably knows that we have a skeleton inside our body, right? And that helps provide support to everything else that has to be in our body. So our organs and our muscles and our tendons and our ligaments and everything else, the blood and the skin. It not only provides support but also provides protection, right? So it keeps it safe so that when we fall, we're not like injuring our brain if something hit us on our head or if we fell on our face. The exoskeleton is just a skeleton on the outside of your body. So obviously, we biologically do not have skeletons on the outside of our body. So that's where the engineering comes in. And through engineering and science, we have created a support structure for the outside of your body. Now, these support structures can be used for a lot of different purposes. And in my case, I work in the field of medical devices. So we look at creating exoskeletons that can help people through illness or helping them recover, or through potentially also giving them a better quality of life on a day-to-day basis. So in the particular product that I work on is rehabilitation exoskeleton, and rehabilitation is a really big word, so we'll talk about it more as maybe something you've heard more frequently, like physical therapy or occupational therapy. So you'll hear me say those two words. I'll just explain what those are. And physical therapy is basically teaching your body to go through those motions again. So what you do is you do different exercises. Basically, that's what it is. It comes down to doing exercises, but you don't do them at a level that's difficult, like bodybuilders or athletes would do. You start very fundamentally, right? So can I lift my hand up and can I bring it down if I've had a shoulder injury, right? And then can I repeatably do that? And then maybe once I get really good at it, I start saying, can I turn my hand out and bring it back in, right? I'm doing only upper body motions because that's all you can see for me, but you can do that for any part of your body. So that's physical therapy, and that's just about building back some of that strength and some of that coordination. Occupational therapy is about actually teaching you to do the activities that you would do on a day-to-day basis. Can I eat? So this action. Can I comb my hair? Can I drink a glass of water? Can I pull up my pants? Can I scratch my back? Right? All of these require complex coordination between your muscles and your brain, which we don't really think about on when we normally do everything that we do on a day-to-day basis. But when you lose the function, then it becomes all the more important. So occupational therapy is like the second stage kind of physical therapy. So first you learn how to do a motion. That motion might not achieve any purpose, but then you move on to actually doing something with that motion or a combination of motions. So the rehabilitation is to take you from a point where you don't have full function to a point where you have better or full function. And the specific device I make, we call it Harmony SHR. It is a upper body exoskeleton, and it is meant for seated therapy of your upper body. So you don't stand and move around. You're sitting on a chair and you attach the exoskeleton to your body. It attaches at your upper arm and your wrist, and then the exoskeleton goes through different motions. So harmony, part of the name is obvious, right? Because all the joints are moving in a harmonized fashion and coordinated fashion to help replicate the motion. The SHR is stands for Scapulohumeral Rhythm. Okay, so what is the Scapulohumeral Rhythm? So the scapula is this, um, pretty much on the back of your shoulder. Uh, and the scapula and the humerus is here. Uh, they actually work in coordination with one another, but their coordination is not driven by a skeletal structure connecting them. So there is no bone that connects the scapula to your humerus. So let me try to, everyone has to do this with me to kind of figure it out. So let's put our arm on our shoulder, and then I try to lift it, and I can't really go very far. But if I take my hand out, you see my shoulder is actually lifting with my arm, and that helps me reach higher. That is scapulohumeral rhythm, and that's something that your brain is doing for you. You don't think really very actively about, oh, I need to lift my shoulder now to lift my hand up. It happens automatically, right? However, when you have a stroke, your brain forgets how to drive those muscles, and there are no devices on the market, if I'm not mistaken, that currently help teach that back to you. So Harmony is unique in the sense that in addition to doing this, it also does this. And it also does this. You can't see it, but if I stood this way and I protracted and retracted my shoulder, when I round my back and then bend my back backwards, it can do that as well. So it's very unique in that sense, and that's why it becomes really important to bring those motions into your exoskeleton so that the human who's wearing that can learn those motions back. Because if they didn't, they're actually learning wrong behavior. It's like learning to pick up a box from the floor, but not using your legs to do it. So you could create other, what we call maladaptive behaviors. So just bad muscular practices or ways of doing things that really don't help you in the long run. I think to get the exact position that I have, as in at that level, right? Typically, to be a director in a company, you need to have about 10 to 15 years of experience doing whatever it is you're going to be a director of. A lot of times, it helps to have practical experience. So coming back to like, how would you practically go about getting to point B from point A? You want to try and get into STEM. If that's something you're interested in, or this is a field that sounds interesting to you, get into STEM. It definitely always helps to have a strong understanding of the basic principles, just so you can follow along with all the people that are working at your company, right? Outside of that, getting practical experience is very helpful. I will say, as interns for companies, a lot of times you don't get the same kind of experience as like an employee for the company does, because interns are generally there for shorter terms, and so they get different projects. But it still opens your eye to how a company works, and if you can get a good project on the practical workings of the industry, if that's what you want to get into, it's really useful. Even if you just touch on a subset of a function, it's really useful. It's also something that, as a person who's hiring you, when I look at you, I'm like, okay, you've gone and tried to do all these things, right? For me, I also look for people who are not one-dimensional. So in the sense that you've done more than school, so you have some other hobbies that kind of help you unwind and relax at the end of the day. That's very important because, like I said, sometimes a job can get very stressful and you really don't want to be working 18 or 20 hours a day. If that makes you happy, that's awesome. I'll take it, right? But it's helpful to have a hobby or something else that shows some other a different side of you, right? So your internship will show a certain aspect, right, of you that you want to highlight. Maybe it's your technical skill, maybe it's your problem solving skills, but doing some other activity outside, even if it's just one, if it's sports, if it's just athletics, it could be individual, it could be team, it could be singing, it could be dancing. Each of that highlights a completely different type of um, personality attribute that could be important when you come and work in an organization. So definitely, from a fundamental, what do you need to like get started, that's what I would look at. And then once you get in, don't be shy of taking on projects that seem harder or difficult. Make sure you find a good mentor in the company that'll help you through some of these things when you get started off. That was the most helpful thing for me. I had really strong mentors who taught me the basics and really helped me catch on much faster than I would have on my own. And don't be afraid to take on more than you think you can do early on. Sometimes taking on a challenge and asking for the challenge always shows that you are interested in pushing yourself, which is always a good thing. And then your managers or whoever you work for will appreciate that you want to go above and beyond and recognize that.